So the From Boys to Men study was an ESRC funded piece of research. There were 3 phases to the project. What we wanted to find out was why it is that some young men become domestically abusive early on in their lives and others do not. In the first phase of the project, we found that almost half of young people, boys and girls, had already got some experience of domestic abuse, either in their own dating relationships or in their home life. The other thing was that around half of boys and around a third of girls could think of a circumstance when they thought it was okay to hit a boyfriend or girlfriend. In the second phase of the project, where we did these focus groups, we were kind of interested in trying to unpack that more. We always started with these films where you could see a young man getting increasingly angry and aggressive and abusive with his partner. And what was interesting is almost absolutely everybody condemned that behaviour. The trouble was that when we then presented other scenarios where they could sort of put themselves in the shoes of somebody who was with a partner, many of the young men we spoke to could see what they would feel insecure in that circumstance, and that they could comprehend why you might want to be controlling. So we'd gone from a group of people who said that domestic abuse was really very wrong to then saying, well, actually I could kind of be that person, to be that kind of coercively controlling. Many of these young men actually really wanted trusting relationships with partners, but they were kind of at a loss as to how to achieve those. And what they failed to understand, in the same way that many adults failed to understand, was that the more controlling you are, the more insecure you become. In the third and final phase of the project, we then interviewed young men who actually had really good reasons. Most of them had really good reasons to feel that trust in a relationship was a challenge for them. Some were carers for mums who'd lived with domestic abuse. Some were carers for dads who'd been abusive. So they were young people who hadn't really known what intimate relationships can be like, the positive sides of that. Many of them had really high expectations, though, of what it was going to be like when they settled down with a girlfriend, that young woman would be able to understand their needs and their emotional needs. And of course it didn't very rarely work out like that. As I said, if there was a common thread, almost all of these men imagined that relationships with women were going to solve some of their problems, and they were the kind of people that then could become very, very controlling and very, very dangerous very quickly.
Domestic abuse is a crime. Spot the signs and stop the abuse before it starts.